Oh, hello. Aha!
Oh.
Yeah, it turned out all we had to do was unplug it and plug it back in. Okay.
So.
Let's
Steve gets top comment for the American Sign Language joke.
Okay, so let's say good morning to some people and
you say good morning to some people. We are a little blown out over there, so I'm going to try to adjust our color while you talk.
Well, while you're doing that, I can't scroll through the chat. Let's see. Good morning to Pancho Ramirez, Patrick Brown, Megan Anderson Wilbanks, Steve Rodemeyer, Danielle Munoz, Sean Stryker. Can't go any further, buddy. Let's see. And then, you know what? We'll finish saying hello in just a moment. Look, no, here we go. See? Just close it, man. It's okay if our colors are off. This is live mode. At least they can hear us.
There.
At least they can hear us. That's the important part. Okay. Let's see. Said hey to Dania. Pitt Danny and James Wilbanks and Scrimshaw Rose and George Kelichek and let's see. Said hey to you. Said hey to you. Oh, Crackshot is with us. Crackshot 322. Fishing, Golf, and Guns. Still one of the best names of all time. And then M. Hickman. And I think, Jared Grant. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hey, actually, no, scroll back up real quick. Jared Grant says, hey guys, I found y'all through Public Square. Glad to be here. Jared, I'm extremely glad that you found us through Public Square, and I'll go check our Public Square account later today and see if you left a comment. And whatever it is that you do on Public Square, if you're running a business there, I'll be, especially one that's local to us, I'll be happy to do what I can to promote you through that and enjoy, because part of Public Square is free advertising, free networking, and just making contact with people who aren't woke nut jobs that you want to do business with. So.
And your wife says,
I'll keep an eye out for you there.
And your wife says, live life, live life without filters. Good morning, Chris's wife. And then Diggs BTW7. Hey, what's up, G?
Hey,
and I think
what's up?
And I think that's everybody. And then
what up? Okay. Shut up, bitch.
All I said was,
Yep.
Okay, now...
Oh, Correction says, okay, I reset and the audio works now. No, it was us. It was us, my man. It happened that way.
Okay. So, what are we, like 8.5 minutes in? We're actually going to talk about something?
You know, all things considered, the stream failed when we first started to go live. The audio failed after we went live.
I second your wife.
And then the camera was a little wonky because it's a new camera. Shit happens.
Steve also seconds your wife.
Live is hard mode, and we burned less than 10 minutes on all those problems, and then an additional minute patting myself on the back for solving problems quickly live on air. So, and Cameron handled the hellos. So we're talking this morning. We are talking about transparent backpacks, clear backpacks, and there's a few reasons we want to talk about this. So what got me thinking about it again, it's something that I've thought about before, and I think we've mentioned it briefly once or twice, but what got me thinking about it again is here we're in Rockdale County, Georgia, and as I've said a few times on the show, on this show, we tend to focus on national politics, international politics, and geopolitics. We don't watch local politics as carefully on the show. I'm pretty plugged in to local politics where I live, but I don't spend a lot of time on it on this show because, quite frankly, I live in an area that is such a safe Democrat area that it feels like a lot of wasted effort. I go to the protests and cover some of those and do that kind of stuff, but quite frankly, the voters of this county, they prefer their corruption and they continue to vote it back into office over and over and over again. Now, this issue of the clear backpacks at the local level, I want y'all to understand that one of the things we just covered a bunch of protests in Old Town Conyers over proposed tax increases. The initial published figure was that we were looking at a 58% increase on property taxes. And we went to the Board of Commissioners to protest that, but some 12 or 14% of that was from the Board of Education. So the BOE is putting their hands in your pocket as well. Pitt Danny points out that the backpacks cost us over $100,000.
But think of the children.
Yeah, and you know, for a lot of these people, mommy and daddy went out and bought them the clear backpack because the schools require it now, and that's the other piece of it that we're going to get to. This is a government mandate.
A guy named Mike Ehrmantraut. Look, we've talked about the Mar-a-Lago thing multiple times, and we're actually focusing on something different today on purpose.
And we'll be getting back to the Mar-a-Lago rate again.
Also,
in the future.
Great name. I'm terrified of you. Because anybody that understands the Mike Ehrmantraut reference should be afraid of you. Anyhow.
Or at least respect your nerd chops. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. So, Rockdale County Public Schools, Conyers, Georgia, Rockdale County Public Schools will require all students to carry clear book bags beginning with the 2022-23 school year. At its meeting on April 21st, 2022, the Rockdale County Board of Education approved the purchase of 16,500 clear book bags that will be distributed to students. This is just another safety measure in our comprehensive plan to increase safety and security in all of our schools, says Superintendent Dr. Terry Oates.
Oh, I have to laugh.
We have increased safety and security over the past few years by installing safety vestibules in every school, giving controlled access, single point access. That is a reasonable measure. That's a good security measure, right?
I have to laugh.
Upgrading and increasing the number of surveillance cameras across the district. This is something else that we're going to talk about in just a minute here, the number of surveillance cameras. Prevention and intervention specialists in the schools. How many of those are armed? How many of those are armed? And starting the rollout of camera systems in classrooms. Camera systems in classrooms. Okay, groomer. And to be clear, I'm not actually accusing them in this context of grooming the children for sexual deviancy, right? That's what people tend to think when you use the word groomer in the context of public schools. But remember, when we were at Heritage High School, the school's motto was, we are producing adaptable...
I don't remember.
Adaptable, effective... Basically, we're producing reproducible automatons for the future slave labor force. That was something our high school motto, and it disgusted me then. It disgusts me now. Your children are being groomed in the schools, even if you have a school that is ultra conservative and religious, that isn't subjecting them to the insane pronoun sexual deviancy garbage that the majority of schools are currently engaged in. Your children are being groomed for a security state. They're being groomed to be cogs in a workforce. They're being groomed to stand in line, wait for their bread, and get stamped with their mark of approval that lists their medical history and vaccination status. The clear backpacks. Ben Franklin told us if you trade, those who trade liberty for security will have neither. I like to say they deserve neither. But this goes further than that. This is kind of like the TSA, right? This isn't trading liberty for security. This is trading liberty and privacy, by the way, for the illusion of security. In so many ways is this a bad, just completely ineffectual. If you think that a person who wanted to smuggle something into a building in a clear backpack is not going to glue down the pages of a textbook and hollow it out to hide their paraphernalia inside of it, inside the clear book bag, you're stupid. And then you
or
look
just
at
stick
the
it in their
school
pockets.
Right, or just stick it in their pockets. Then you look at the school shooting situations, right? T.J. Solomon stuck his rifle down his pants in one pant leg and pimp-limped onto the bus to go and shoot up Heritage High School, right? A shooter's not coming in with a book bag and pulling a rifle out of it. They show up with a rifle. The correct answer is not to harass the rest of the students. The correct answer, dear teachers, by the way, is to be a damn man, gird thyself as is your right, and it's a right because it is a responsibility. There's a responsibility associated with the right. You have the right to keep and bear arms because you have the responsibility to defend yourself against crimes, against violence, against threats to your own life. And if you're a good man, you feel a duty to defend those who cannot defend themselves. That would be women, children, invalids, etc.
So, just to back all the way up to your broader point, that I actually think literally one of the very first things we ever talked about on the Brush Fire Mind was the way that the public education system brainwashes you. Because we talked about, and I don't even remember what sparked it, but we talked about a situation where if you get into a fight at school, if you're a student, and you get into a fight, and it is a clear-cut 100% case of self-defense, you will still also be punished because they have a zero tolerance toward violence policy. Your only option, no matter what is happening to you, no amount of bullying, even assault and battery, is to flee and find a teacher or an administrator and essentially trust the government to solve your problem for you instead of turning around and hitting the bully back or whatever. Okay, so yeah, it's not just the sexual grooming, which is a thing that's happening. Okay, but we'll wait.
You did it.
I didn't do it.
He did.
How did I do it?
I'll explain later.
Oh, great. Anyhow.
You made a gesture, and the camera took that gesture to mean that it should look at you.
Oh, okay.
That's how you did it.
All right, then. Anyhow, before that got me completely derailed.
Hey, Sergeant Major says road trip. Good morning, old man.
Anyhow, before that got me completely derailed. Yes.
Hold your hand up. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
And put your hand down.
New camera. And
just keep going.
anyhow, they're grooming you for all sorts of things, not just sexual stuff, but they do want you to be just useful enough. They want you to be able to read just good enough so that you don't accidentally kill yourself taking your prescription medicines, and so that you don't accidentally chop your arms off operating their machinery. And they want for you to build a habit.
I'm sorry.
And they want for you to build a habit of running to an authority outside of yourself. And that authority that is outside of yourself is not friends and family. No. They want you to cultivate the habit of running to the official authority to solve the problem. It's something that's pretty disgusting. However, I think in this case, when I heard about this story with the clear backpacks, as others have pointed out in the chat, it's largely ineffective. It's not that hard to find ways around it. I mean, like, for example, what are you going to do? Are you going to also make girls' purses clear? And, I mean, are you going to make pockets in jeans clear, and on and on and on and on? There's ways to beat this system entirely. Ironically, the thought that I had was like, haha, even though the book bags are clear, it's an obviously visible sign of trying to help. But as far as on the scale of the slippery slope fallacy, this didn't even register for me, because the government does things that are deliberately malicious, and the government does things that are accidentally malicious. And this struck me as a thing that was accidentally malicious. It was like, oh, well, we'll just throw a bunch of money at the problem and claim the clear book bags are going to help. Hey, problem solved. Nobody can accuse Rockdale County School Board of nothing. It's part of a comprehensive plan. That's why I laughed as you were reading it, because, man, they took it seriously. It's like, oh, yeah, it's part of our comprehensive plan that in no way includes anywhere from 2 to 5 armed guards per building.
Right.
You know, and you...
Excuse me.
Those gestures probably aren't good on a live stream. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Anyhow.
New camera. I haven't disabled the gestures yet.
But anyhow,
because you see, Alex, I had planned on, I thought maybe we'd play with them a little bit, because there's some comedy in that. But, you know, new camera. We're still learning. But I fixed the preset, so it should go back to there instead of the other thing now.
But as Steve says, it's visible platitudes. At least we did something BS. But as far as this being part of the overall plot to groom your children, that might be a thought that some people had. That's... Okay. That might be a thought that some people have, but this seems just more like, let's throw money at a problem and do something visible. Oh, there's...
Yeah.
So, anyhow, but otherwise the rest of your...
Danny says Rockdale got the backpacks at Walmart. And, okay, this is a wonderful distraction that gives me a moment to go back to something. Do
you need a piece of ice?
Where are we? Okay, so Mark Ehrmantraut.
Do you need a piece of ice?
No, thank you.
No. Mike Ehrmantraut made a comment up here that distracted me pretty solidly. And Mike, we already said we're not talking about the Mar-a-Lago raid on today's show, because we were talking specifically about the backpacks, which I think we've given pretty fair treatment to. But this comment, Mike, after searching the basement of Mar-a-Lago for hours, dozens of agents were seen confiscating 97-year-old Jimmy Carter, whom Trump had reportedly taken from the White House on his last day and stored in a small box labeled Peanut Guy. My man. So the backpacks are a waste of money. They're intended to make you feel good.
I don't know that I agree that they're part of the march toward basically the evil socialist plot.
Oh, they are.
See, okay, but like I said, I don't know that I agree.
Okay, and
no, hold on.
Okay,
all right. I concede on the front end before I even continue with that argument that just about anything and everything at least has the potential to be part of the evil socialist plot to brainwash your children. But I tend to think of things in terms of, let's say I was going to make a top 10 list. Clear book bags would not make the top 10 list.
Okay, so you're missing a key part of what makes the slippery slope so dangerous. And it's this. It's I am not suggesting that the clear book bags are a part of some complex conspiracy or complex plan by which a predetermined trajectory of ever increasing and ever increasingly invasive security tactics continue to strip away your liberty at, as the cost of security. Rather, the problem with the slippery slope is that every point in the chain, every link in the chain, as you go down the slippery slope, it doesn't matter if it's part of the plan or just the next logical step. It is a contributor to the rapidly increasing velocity of the slide down the slippery slope. I'm not saying that these guys are commie agents that are here to put clear book bags on your children so that they can guarantee that the next big step is to make sure all the children wear transparent clothing that's just there to keep the rain off because they're a bunch of groomers. I'm not saying that's their plan. I'm saying
I'd be more likely to agree with that.
I'm saying that something like the clear book bags is the next, and I use this word loosely in this context, logical step, because we're talking about people who do not operate in a world of logic. We're talking about people who believe in science rather than observe and conduct science. We're talking about people who come to the next pseudo-logical conclusion as a result of their bad sophistry. And what happens is the next link in the chain could be any of a number of things that just seem to be the next pseudo-logical progression. And
so I mean, okay, I get it.
The slippery slope doesn't necessarily require that there's a nefarious plan afoot to implement the slippery slope. And that's the problem with the slippery slope is once you're on it, you're on it.
Okay, so, I mean, to a certain extent, I agree. Like, I've seen some comments that are like, you could fall under unintended consequences, and somebody said, oh, let's do something, even if it actually doesn't do anything. And I could see how this could be like on a parallel track. Like once you're sliding down the slope and you're about to go over the cliff and you break your fingers trying to grab a rock on the way down, the point was not to break your fingers as you were going down. The point was to throw you over the cliff.
And I'm glad you're making this argument because I want to take this. I want to kind of bring this back to nefarious consequences, nefarious acts and the like. So, an obvious consequence of this clear backpack situation is an invasion of privacy. That is not an unintended consequence. That is your health insurance will cost 4 times as much. That's a feature, not a bug. Right? So now your
and the kids
11, 12, 13-year-old daughter is going to be seen with her feminine hygiene products in her book bag, and the kids will make fun of her and the attendants will make notes, right? If you've got a kid who has to have some kind of medication, well, there goes your medical privacy. The abolition of privacy is a major move for these guys. This is one of the reasons that the Democrats have never made an effective move to codify Roe v. Wade. As much as they want to keep murdering children en masse and at taxpayer dollars, part of Roe v. Wade was medical privacy. And let's not forget, Hillary Clinton was all about chipping the babies. Pete, it's hard to find the articles now. I've found them. I've got copies of them in here and there. But, you don't have to Google. It's okay to just remember things. And that was a major controversial thing, was one of the features of Hillary Care was the development of what we refer to now as the V-chip, which has been repurposed and used to tag your pets so that they're so that it's harder to lose a pet. And if they do get lost and picked up by Humane Society or the local dog catcher or something, then they can read the chip and get the pet back to you. Those were originally designed as part of the Hillary Care plan. And the plan was that every child born after a certain date would have the chip installed at birth, and the chip would carry your medical history and your financial and credit scores. And it was soundly defeated by the law. But make no mistake, the abolition of privacy is a major, major interest of the far left fascists.
Look, Steve points out something, and I would 100% agree, and I'll even take what he said a step further. And I'm not saying this is right, I'm just saying this is factual. But as far as what your rights are when you go to a public school as a child, they're next to nothing.
Correct.
So, I mean, things like locker searches and bag searches, things that are already private. Like, some other kid just has to make a... Oh, god damn, that is going to be frustrating. I can't wait for you to disable that. Some other kid is going to make a vague accusation against you, and they're allowed to haul you into the office and turn out all your pockets, empty out your book bag. If they have to cut your locker open, they're allowed to do that. All these things, okay?
Right.
Just based on one vague... Again, that's why I go back to, even if this is just a part of it by accident, that is at worst what it is. It is a part of it by accident. It could even be a thing that lands parallel.
It didn't do the thing.
Yeah, I saw. It could even be a thing that lands parallel on the slope. Like, it's... I'd say that the greater issue is our entire mentality surrounding public schools. Like, for starters, stop calling them public schools and start calling them what they are.
Government schools.
Government schools. Okay, let's start there. If we want to have an honest conversation about the government-funded education in this country, well, let's make sure that we stress that it's government-funded and that it has only gotten worse since we've thrown more and more government dollars at it. Let's just start there. So, I mean, this privacy, yeah, I mean, I hear you. It just... When I really sit down and I think about this and I look internally, this is... Like, I've heard the people in Rockdale County Board speak. Like, they're educated, but they ain't smart. You know what I mean? And I can...
Well...
And I can just see them going, oh, clear book bags. And all your dumbass moms demand action types are going to go, oh, God, yes, clear book bags are such a good idea. Like, that's what this is to me. It's highly visible. Oh, look at all those kids. And if you even want to make the argument that you're making them conform, that it's part of the uniform, I'll even go there. But is this being anything other than like a sideways thing on the slippery slope? I'm not convinced, even though it might run on a parallel track.
Well, let me go back to the comment from the schools. Then we have increased safety and security over the past few years by installing safe festivals. Already covered. That's a good idea. Upgrading and increasing the number of surveillance cameras. And starting the rollout of camera systems in classrooms. So yes, they're very much working on that panopticon, and being able to see through and examine your valuables and the contents of your book bag is part of that.
Cameras in classrooms are going to end up being like police body cams. They're the people that think they're going to profit from them are actually going to be, they're going to be used to, my baby would never do that. Actually, we kind of have it right here on this camera.
One would hope.
But no, cameras in class, I mean, they've already got cameras over the doorways. They've already got cameras in the hallways. Having cameras in classrooms, again, that's one of those things that's like, meh, it doesn't even crack the top 10.
You know, there's an interesting thing about cameras.
I promise.
I'm actually making a point about what you're saying about cameras. This is a less than $200 camera with pretty sophisticated tracking data. right? I mean, that right there is cause for concern relative to the implementation of the cameras in classrooms. And as far as the privacy stuff that I was talking about, less than $200 smart gimbal camera. Well, I'll be damned. We've got a caller.
Right as we're about to go off the air.
Damn, son, I didn't even put the number up. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, not too shabby. We got James Wilbanks on the line. We were just about to wrap it up and shut it down.
I understand. I just wanted to make a comment about the camera thing. I've always wanted cameras in the classroom that I have access to because it also keeps the teachers honest.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
I can see that very much so, and I would argue probably that if there are going to be cameras there, they need to be public record. So not
Correct.
Not just I can, as a parent with my child in there, I should be able to log in and view the camera like it's my Ring doorbell. If I'm going to put up with cameras being in the classrooms like that, and then of course the record of whatever is recorded by those cameras should, just like a police dash cam or body cam or the cameras in the courtroom during hearings, those should all be public record.
I also want to add to the fact that if my kid has been complaining for 6 months about a student that's been bullying him, and he went to the teacher or she's went to the teacher 5 or 6 times and nothing's been done, now I have the ammo to take them to court.
Yeah, and we had an issue with one of our daughters being bullied, and I will not go into the details of it on this show. Many of you watching already know the story, but the results were severe, and the child was, how do I say this correct? Demographically immunized against consequences. There were no consequences for the child that assaulted my daughter. And that is not the only reason we homeschool, but it is one of them.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Jamie, because that's actually a thing that I was going to get to if Chris and I continued to kind of argue back and forth on this. That the biggest value, assuming that parents can log into those camera systems, but that would be the biggest value. I mean, that would that'd keep the entire system honest, because. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I, as a parent, if I was going to do this, I would log into it, not because I'm trying to check up on the teacher, but because I'm trying to make sure that my child is actually doing their work and not being a mouthy little shit, right? So the side effect would be, if there's anything else going on, you would naturally catch on to it. And then, of course, if your kid comes home and says, oh, so-and-so, called me a name in 5th period. Well, click, click, click. 5th period. Here we go.
And so here's my piece of pushback for the both of you on this one, and then we really do need to wrap it up. But here's my piece of pushback on that. The arguments that you're making here are actually solid arguments. They're very attractive arguments, and that's what's so alarming about them, is you're making an attractive argument. The consequence of whose victory is to concede additional authority and cede additional liberty to the control of the government entity.
You've already ceded that authority to the government by walking into a government school.
Absolutely. Any ammo I can have to protect my child and my interests for their future, I'm all for it. I don't have the liberty of a private school, so any ammo that I can put in my arsenal, I'm all about it.
Yeah, it's illegal to not educate your children in this country. They kind of have us by the balls. Homeschooling is extremely challenging for most of us. More of us would do it, except it just...
Let's be fair. Homeschooling is extremely challenging for everyone.
I don't mean
whether or not you can do it. I understand the point you're making, and for those that do it, it is also an extraordinary challenge. It's a valuable one, though. It is one that pays dividends.
Well, I just wanted to bring my 2 cents to the conversation. I'm going to tune back in so y'all sign off. Y'all have a good one.
All right,
you.
brother. And thanks for calling in.
Thanks. Hey, audience.
Yes.
Be like Jamie. Jamie called in. He made a point. He made it quick, easy, right on the nose, and then he got off the phone. That was illustrative of how to be a good caller to any show. And I say this as somebody that's called Polytech and TPS report and argued with him for a good solid 20 minutes straight. So that is making fun of myself a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But we got to wrap it up. Obviously, there's parts of this where Chris and I disagree. What do you guys think? Hey, comment down below.
That's what the comment section is for. Maybe I need a Crowder style comment banner on there. That might be aping a little too hard, but thanks for.
Yeah, no.
Willow says,
Steal like an artist.
Homeschooling is hard because you have to parent at the same time. Yup.
Steve says, keep that word out of your fucking mouth. I can't help it. My daughter was a daughter for the first 12 years of her life. Anyhow.
Yup. All right. Y'all be safe out there. We will see you tomorrow. I disabled the tracking thing, and it is still disabled. Good.